My wife cheated with 2 married coworkers, so I filed for divorce and exposed her affairs publicly. I had always thought our marriage was solid. We had been together for years, and I trusted her with everything. She was my partner, my confidant, the woman I thought I'd grow old with. But everything changed one night when a simple Facebook notification shattered my world. It was a message from a coworker. A message that would unravel a series of shocking truths. My wife had been having an affair, but not just with one man. She had been sleeping with 2 married colleagues at her office. The moment I discovered the betrayal, the trust one had built over the years crumbled. I could not believe the web of lies she had spun right in front of me. But that was not the worst part. As the truth began to surface, I realized the depth of her deceit. And I knew I could not stand by her side any longer. The divorce was inevitable. But what followed after was something that would expose her in a way she could never imagine. It is said that the hardest part of any betrayal is not seeing it coming. And for me, that could not have been truer. My wife and I had been together for more than a decade, and in that time we built a life I thought was solid. Something that would endure no matter what. We had been through our fair share of challenges, as any couple does, but we always managed to come out stronger on the other side. We were partners in every sense of the word, each other's support system in both good times and bad. We shared dreams of the future, of building a home, of raising children, and of growing old together. At least I thought we did. I had always trusted her completely. There were no signs that anything was wrong, no whispers of doubt in my mind. In fact, she was the one who reassured me when I had my moments of insecurity, always there to comfort me. The idea that she would betray me never crossed my mind, not even once. But one day, everything changed with a simple notification on my phone. I was sitting on the couch, scrolling through my feed, when a Facebook message popped up. The name on the screen was unfamiliar to me, and at first, I thought it might be a spam account or someone trying to sell me something. But something about it caught my eye, something instinctively told me to take a closer look. When I opened the message, I felt my heart drop. It wasn't from some stranger or random acquaintance. It was from someone I knew, someone who worked closely with my wife. The message was casual at first, but as I read on, my stomach twisted. It wasn't just an innocent conversation. There was flirting, there were inside jokes, there was familiarity, and most of all, there was an undeniable connection. I kept reading, hoping I was wrong, hoping this was all a misunderstanding. But it wasn't. The more I read, the clearer it became. My wife had been having an affair, not with just one person, but with 2 married coworkers. And to make matters worse, it had been going on for over a year. I was devastated. The love of my life, the person I thought I could trust more than anyone, had been lying to me for months, maybe even longer. Before I found that message, I had no reason to question anything. Our life together had seemed perfect. I met my wife when we were both in our late 20s, and we quickly became inseparable. It felt as if we were made for each other. Our relationship was easy, comfortable, and passionate all at once. We moved in together after only a few months of dating, a decision that felt right from the start. We quickly became a unit, and everything just seemed to fall into place. We both had solid careers, friends we enjoyed spending time with, and shared ambitions for the future. I thought we had the perfect foundation, and I believed in it wholeheartedly. We spent countless weekends together, going on spontaneous trips, spending hours talking about everything and nothing. She would always say that she appreciated how we could talk about anything and everything. We would make plans, and even when things got tough, we never gave up on each other. That was what love meant to me. Partnership, trust, and unwavering support. We had our disagreements like any couple, but nothing serious. Nothing that would make me doubt her loyalty. No red flags. No warning signs. Of course, I noticed changes every now and then. She seemed more distant at times, a little more preoccupied with work or the stresses of daily life, but I attributed it to stress. She was an ambitious woman with big goals, and sometimes, I thought that maybe I wasn't doing enough to support her. But I never imagined that what she was dealing with was something I could never have anticipated. A secret life. It wasn't until the Facebook message that everything came crashing down. I had no idea that she had been carrying on an affair with not one, but 2 of her colleagues. They were both married men with families of their own, yet they had been involved with my wife behind my back. As I read through the messages, I felt the world around me crumble. I felt a sickening mix of disbelief and anger. How could she do this to me? How could she betray everything we had built together? I didn't know how long it had been going on. Was it just a few months, or had it been longer? She had been so careful to hide it from me, and I felt like a fool. All the times I thought we were fine, all the times I thought we were happy, had been a lie. The realization that my wife had been living a double life, one I knew nothing about, was too much to bear. The trust one had in her was shattered beyond repair. It felt like the rug had been pulled out from under me, and everything I thought I knew about our relationship was now called into question. The truth hit me like a freight train. I had always believed that my marriage was solid, built on trust and mutual respect. We had been through so much together, and yet, here I was, staring at the screen in disbelief, uncovering a hidden world that my wife had carefully constructed behind my back. Felt surreal. I had never suspected that my wife, the woman I had trusted with my heart, could be hiding something so massive, so destructive. But the evidence was undeniable, and as I delved deeper into the mess, the truth became clearer, more painful with every new piece of information. It all started with a single notification, a glimpse into a conversation that should have never existed. The message, which I thought was innocent at first, made me suspicious enough to take a closer look at her phone. The more I searched, the more I realized that what had been happening right under my nose was not just an isolated incident. It was a full-blown affair. But what stunned me even more was that it wasn't one affair. It was two separate relationships, both ongoing for more than a year, both with married coworkers. I was shocked beyond words. I had always thought we were happy. Sure, there were the occasional small disagreements, but nothing that suggested such a deep betrayal. I was a dedicated husband, working long hours to support our life together. I made sure she had everything she needed, and I believed that she appreciated it. The idea that she had been betraying me, not just emotionally but physically as well, was something I could not comprehend at first. I was drowning in the disbelief of it all. How had I been so blind? How had I not noticed the signs? The phone was the gateway to the shocking truth. I spent hours scrolling through text messages, reading each one like a dagger being driven deeper into my chest. They weren't just casual conversations. These messages were full of secrecy, flirtation, and promises. She had been seeing these two men who both worked with her at the same company for months. The messages were coded, indirect at first, but over time they became more obvious. They spoke openly about their physical encounters, planning secret meetings, and sharing intimate details about their lives. What made everything even worse was that these men were married. Both of them. I could not believe what I was reading. How could my wife, a woman who had always claimed to have strong values and principles, have allowed herself to fall into such a destructive pattern? Not only had she been unfaithful to me, but she had also been complicit in ruining the marriages of two other people. These men, who had wives and families, were just as guilty. Yet, it was my wife who had allowed this to go on, who had played her part in their betrayal. It was a bitter pill to swallow, realizing that she had no regard for the vows we made to each other. But the damage did not end there. As I read on, I discovered that their relationship was not just physical. There was an emotional connection that had formed between my wife and these men. She confided in them, shared her dreams and frustrations with them, things she had never shared with me. It was as if they had become her confidants, her support system, while I was left in the dark, completely unaware of the growing chasm between us. I couldn't fathom how she could allow herself to get so close to them, how she could trust them with her deepest thoughts and feelings, when all the while, she had kept me at arm's length. And then there were the photos. Dozens of pictures from their secret meetings, out in public, looking like any other couple on a date. There they were, my wife and one of her coworkers, laughing and posing for the camera as if nothing was wrong. These pictures were the final blow. The evidence was staring me right in the face. They had been meeting in secret, going out to restaurants, and even spending time at hotels together. Each photo was a reminder of the trust she had broken, of the marriage we had built together, and how easily she had destroyed it. The realization that these moments were shared with someone else, that they were stolen from me, hit me harder than anything else. As I sat there, looking at the messages, the photos, and the evidence that was piling up, I could feel the anger and pain rising within me. But there was something else too, something even more difficult to accept. The fact that my wife had been able to carry on this double life, pretending everything was fine at home, while secretly being with two other men, was a testament to just how little she valued me and our relationship. She had lied to my face, day in and day out, and I had never seen it coming. It was a betrayal that went beyond the physical act of cheating. It was the emotional manipulation, the lies, and the complete disregard for everything we had built together that cut the deepest. I remember staring at the phone screen, unable to stop myself from scrolling, from uncovering more and more evidence. I felt like I was losing control of everything around me. How had I not seen the signs? How had I let this happen? The guilt I felt wasn't because I had done something wrong. It was because I had trusted her. I had given her my heart, my soul, and she had taken it and thrown it away without a second thought. And in that moment, as I sat there reading the final message, the only thing that was clear to me was that my life, my marriage, and everything I had known up until that point was a lie. The shock of discovery had barely worn off when the full weight of the situation began to settle in. Every moment that passed felt like I was being suffocated by the truth. I had always believed that the bond one shared with my wife was unique, something that could withstand anything. But now, as I looked at the undeniable evidence, I realized how naive I had been. The reality of what my wife had done to me, and to the entire foundation of our marriage, began to unfold in the most excruciating way possible. I could not keep the anger at bay any longer. It was as if I had been standing on a cliff, looking at the horizon, and suddenly the ground beneath me had crumbled, leaving me with no footing, no sense of direction. I had been walking around in a fog, living a life that I thought was real, when in reality, it was nothing more than an illusion. My wife, the woman I had pledged to spend my life with, had been living in a world of lies, deceit, and betrayal. And the worst part was that she had been doing it for over a year. The full extent of her affair did not hit me until I sat down and reread every single message, every photo, every detail of the sordid love affair she had carried on in secret. It was clear now that she had not only betrayed my trust but had done so without a single ounce of remorse. There was no guilt in her words, no hesitation in her actions. She had become someone completely different from the woman I had once loved. The first of her co-workers, the man who had been a part of this betrayal from the start, seemed to have taken a deeper hold on her emotions. From the messages I uncovered, it was clear that they had not only shared physical encounters, but had developed a strong emotional bond. They had shared intimate moments, whispered secrets, and discussed personal matters, things that I had once believed were only between us. What stung the most was realizing that she had opened up to him, things she had never shared with me, even though we had been married for years. Then, the second coworker, another married man, appeared to be a temporary escape from the first, but the messages told a different story. It became apparent that my wife had been juggling both men at once, each one serving a different need in her life. She had compartmentalized them, playing both sides, pretending to be a loving wife at home while secretly enjoying the company of two other men. And all of this had happened under my nose, without me ever suspecting a thing. As I continued reading through the messages, the depth of her deceit became clearer. She had planned these secret meetings meticulously, always ensuring that I was none the wiser. She had made excuses for late nights at work, claimed to be caught up in meetings or business trips, all the while sneaking away to be with her lovers. And I, blind to the lies, had bought every story she told me, never questioning her motives, never suspecting a thing. But as her lies unraveled, a new and even more painful truth emerged. She had begun to view her marriage to me as a mere convenience, a way to maintain the illusion of a perfect life while she explored the affairs she had been having. She had stopped putting effort into our relationship long before I had even suspected anything was wrong. Her emotional attachment to these men had grown so deep that she was willing to throw away everything we had built. The idea that she had stopped valuing our marriage and had replaced me with two other men, both of whom were also married, was a gut-wrenching realization. It was during this period of revelation that I also discovered something even more painful. She had known these men for years. This was not just a fling or a one-time mistake. No, these were ongoing relationships, and she had been carrying them out with full knowledge of the consequences. The affair was not a product of a momentary lapse in judgment or a feeling of loneliness. It was a calculated decision, a conscious choice she had made to betray me on multiple levels. The second coworker had been a part of her life for just as long as the first, and it seemed that the two men had become a constant presence in her life. Their messages were filled with plans to meet up in secret, to sneak away on business trips, to find new ways to spend time together without anyone knowing. My wife, the woman I thought I knew so well, had become someone I could barely recognize. It was as if she had morphed into a stranger, someone who was capable of hiding her true nature behind a mask of normalcy. The hardest part of this revelation, however, was coming to terms with the fact that these men, these co-workers, had no loyalty to me either. They were not just part of a physical affair. They had both been complicit in a much deeper betrayal. They had lied to their own wives, and in doing so, they had destroyed not just their own marriages but mine as well. The hurt from that realization was almost too much to bear. The man she had been closest to, the one she seemed to have a special emotional connection with, had not just been an affair partner. He had been a co-conspirator in her deception. They had worked together to hide the truth from me, and in doing so, they had irreparably torn apart the life I had once known. Each revelation brought with it a new wave of heartbreak. Every message, every detail, felt like a dagger to my heart, and it became more and more difficult to understand how my wife could have let this go on for so long. The lies she told, the manipulation she employed, and the sheer lack of regard for the vows she had taken. It was all too much to process. I felt like I was losing control of everything I had ever believed in. The woman I had once loved, the woman I had once trusted with my life, was no longer the person I thought she was. The days following the discovery felt like a blur. I was consumed by anger, disbelief, and an overwhelming sense of betrayal. Everything I had once believed about love, loyalty, and trust had been shattered in an instant. My wife had shattered our bond so completely that it felt as though the foundation of my life had crumbled beneath me. I had no idea how to move forward, how to process the weight of the betrayal that now lay heavy in my heart. I knew that I could not continue living in this lie, in this toxic, deceit-filled marriage. It was clear that my wife had no intention of taking responsibility for her actions or even attempting to repair the damage she had caused. She had already moved on emotionally long before I had discovered the truth. The trust that we once had was gone, replaced by a deep wound that I knew could never be healed. The decision to file for divorce came almost immediately. I could not stand the thought of sharing my life with someone who had shown me so little respect. I had tried for so long to make the marriage work, to put my heart into it, but it seemed that I had been doing so alone. She had betrayed my trust in the most unforgivable way, and I could no longer allow myself to be in a relationship where I was the only one who cared. But the pain of the divorce was nothing compared to the anger that followed. I wanted the world to know the truth about what she had done, to expose her for the liar she had become. The affair had not only been a betrayal of me, but it had been a betrayal of everything I had worked for. I had given her everything, and she had repaid me with deceit. I wanted people to understand the depth of her betrayal, to see her for who she truly was. I made the decision to publicly expose her affairs. It was not something I took lightly, but I was tired of hiding in the shadows, of pretending that everything was fine. I contacted both of the men she had been seeing and made sure they knew that their involvement in her lies had not gone unnoticed. I sent messages to friends and family members, telling them about the truth of her actions. I wanted everyone to know that she had destroyed our lives, that she had torn apart a marriage that had once seemed so solid. The fallout was immediate. My wife was furious with me, but there was no sympathy left in my heart for her. I had no interest in protecting her anymore. The pain she had caused me could not be undone, and the only thing I had left was to stand up for myself and ensure that she was held accountable for her actions. In the weeks that followed, the backlash was intense. She tried to salvage what she could of her career, but the stain of her infidelity was too great. Her colleagues whispered behind her back, and the friends we had once shared began to distance themselves from her. Her affair had not only ruined our marriage but had impacted her professional life as well. I, on the other hand, began to slowly rebuild my life. The anger that had consumed me slowly faded into a sense of quiet resolve. I knew that I had made the right decision. Exposing her betrayal had been necessary for my own healing, even if it meant tearing apart the life we had once known. The weight I had been carrying for so long had finally begun to lift. It was not easy, and there were days when the pain of the betrayal felt unbearable. But I knew that I could never move forward while clinging to the wreckage of a marriage that was built on lies. The divorce was finalized within a few months, and with it came a sense of freedom. I no longer had to worry about hiding my emotions, pretending that everything was fine, or putting on a mask to protect my wife's reputation. The truth had come out, and I could begin to move forward with my life. I spent time focusing on myself, rebuilding my sense of self-worth, and rediscovering who I was outside of the shadow of my marriage. Eventually, I started to date again, but not out of revenge or spite. I had learned valuable lessons from the experience, and I knew now what I wanted in a relationship. I needed trust, respect, and honesty, qualities that had been sorely lacking in my marriage. The wounds that had been inflicted on me took time to heal, but I knew that I was stronger for having gone through it. As for my ex-wife, she had to deal with the consequences of her actions. Her reputation was tarnished, her career affected, and her personal life left in shambles. The men she had been involved with had their own troubles to face, and though I could not control the fallout they experienced, I knew that they too would have to live with the choices they had made. In the end, the resolution did not come with a sense of revenge or triumph. It came with a sense of clarity and peace. I had confronted the truth, faced the pain, and taken control of my own life again. It was not an easy journey, but it was one that I had to take in order to heal and move forward. The betrayal had left deep scars, but I had emerged from it stronger, wiser, and more prepared to live a life that was truly mine. If you found this story relatable or thought-provoking, please take a moment to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and press the bell icon so you never miss a new video.